I think that it led to the conclusion that we need a car, but it didn't lead to the conclusion that we need to have a loan to get a car.
Because I had a type of car in my mind, and I thought we couldn't afford. If we could even afford, I mean, it would take a while.
I get it, and that really dragged. I said, like, you don't get. I'm not saying. I'm not, because I think that no matter how many times I said it, you could only hear, I'm saying, no, you don't need a car.
Exactly.
And all your arguments were, of course, we are not length arguments, like making proper arguments at that time. And so you're just kind of going on.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of instances like that. Sometimes I have a headache. I have a headache. Hello and welcome to my Growth Club. My name is Emmanuel.
And my name is Grace.
We are your partner in growth and effective living. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in and for always joining us on this particular platform. If you've not subscribed to our channel yet, I want to ask you for this favor. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification so that you're always going to be alerted whenever we post a video. This is a place that we share anything that will help you grow in life. Grace and I have been on this pursuit for quite some time. We have discovered things that we've been sharing here, like this particular mental image of life that you're seeing on your screen that we had to throw away. It never served us well. It brought us into the state where our heart was at war with others and we are chasing things, fighting and thinking we are in a competition with people. And we never found satisfaction in that. And we adopted this particular mental image of life, what we call the state of flourishing, the effective living model. Incredible model that has really served us so well. And that's why we are sharing some of these things with you guys. We have tools that will enable you to live better. In a previous episode, we talked about choices and why everything came down to our choices. Oh my God. Yeah. It's such a game changer, and today we want to follow up on that particular conversation with making good argument. This is crucial. It's important. I mean, we've seen people who have come to us and they are like, oh, we always arguing and we always fighting. And I'm like, no, you're confusing two things. Yeah. Fighting and arguing are two completely different things. Of course, when you are arguing with each other, you are just on this, unfruitful, drudgery of things that could easily be settled. Yeah. So this one says this one is saying this, this one is mad, this one is angry, this one is, saying all kinds of things. Yeah. But you want to make good argument as a couple because you cannot make the right choices without having good argument. I think that good argument is a necessity.
It's a necessity
to make it. I'm not saying arguing. I'm not saying fighting. Yeah. I'm saying making good argument.
Yeah. And the quality of the argument is what is important, right? I think it's very important for us to establish right now that for you to say that a relationship, oh my God, this relationship is a good one, doesn't necessarily mean that relationship is devoid of argument.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. It's the argument has to be quality. It's not the argument where it's like it's like we are at war, screaming on top of our heads. You are not hearing each other. It's like you are hitting the wall against each other, right?
And we suffered from that also very early on. And I think one of the things that I think has helped is through our skill sharing program. Our Saturday skill sharing as a couple. I one day I said, listen, I think we need to learn about this. Yeah. We need to learn about, and that's the thing about growth. When you want to grow, you want to invest in knowledge. You want to learn. I had learned because I was a debater, and so I knew about argument. But I used to struggle getting you to see things the same way, and to kill some of the fallacies in our conversations. Exactly. And I knew that, like, if you think about the Parliament House, or you think about, let's say, the House, even Congress. Okay. You don't make good policies without proper argument. You don't make, sometimes they have to engage in moral argument. They have to engage in policy debate because you cannot make good policies, choices if you're a couple, like if you bring it back to our homes, like you can't make good choices without quality argument. An argument simply is a set of premises leading to a particular conclusion. That's basically what an argument is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying arguing. I'm not saying fighting. I'm saying an argument is a set of premises leading to a particular conclusion. And we are always like I've made a lot of argumentative statements even from the time we began.
Yeah.
Because we're making conclusions every single day. Sometimes the premises are obvious. So there are kind of two arguments. You can look at what we call the deductive argument, and you can look at what we call the inductive argument. The deductive argument, like I shared with you, is where the conclusion kind of follows the premise. So I can say that maybe all women are beautiful. My mother is beautiful. Or my mother is a woman. Therefore, my mom is beautiful. I mean, because I said all women are beautiful. So if my mom is a beautiful, it follows that my mom obviously is beautiful. But then you can have inductive argument, which is where the conclusion is likely, but it's not certain.
It's not certain,
Okay, so a typical example is, let's say, all the dogs that I have seen are white. Okay. No, you can say again, maybe all dogs are white. Okay. All the dogs that I have seen are white. Therefore, all dogs are white. Right?
Yeah,
it's likely, but it's not certain. It's likely that, in fact, if all the dogs that you have seen are white, then it could be true that all dogs are white. But it's not certain. It's not.
Like
it's not really true.
Explore the entire universe.
Exactly. And both are argumentative statements. And we have them. Let us bring that into our homes. We used to have, for instance, there was a time where we had to, like you said, let's go and take, let's say, a loan to buy a car.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And I'm thinking, okay, no.
No, yes.
And again, because of the way you put a statement. And I told you when we were doing this lesson, like then I said
back to it, because in that moment I didn't think, I was like, why would you just say no? So I came to you because we had gotten married. I started, Ubering and sometimes joining public transport. It's not like I wasn't doing that before, but I was doing that to work now, and I was like, I think let's go get a loan and buy a car. And we're like, no.
Again, that's an argument right there. Because again, you've made an argumentative, you've given a conclusion, but then if you had said maybe, I think we need a car, okay, maybe because of A, B, C, D, that's fine. Or even if you had said we should get a loan because of A, B, C, D. So I think the follow-up question was that why are you saying that? And then now you went ahead to give the point. But I thought all the points you made did not follow the conclusion. Like, they don't lead to that conclusion. Like, you have a valid point, but those points don't lead to this conclusion. I think that it led to the conclusion that we need a car, but it didn't lead to the conclusion that we need to have a loan to get a car.
Because I had a type of car in my mind, and I thought we couldn't afford. If we could even afford, it would take a while.
I get it. And that really dragged. I said, like,
it dragged.
You don't get, I'm not saying, because I think that no matter how many times I said it, you could only hear, I'm saying, no, you don't need a car.
Exactly.
And all your arguments were, of course, we are not length arguments, like making proper arguments at that time. And so you're just kind of going on.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of instances like that. Sometimes I have a headache. And I thought, no, we needed to learn. We needed to learn how to, and you can attest how much that has helped.
It's been a game changer. From just this example, one thing that I learned is that attacking the issue, right, is what is critical and not the person, because I felt attacked in that moment. So it's like, okay, and most people do that. When you feel attacked, then it's like, okay, you shut out. Some people don't talk about it. Some people decide that, okay, I'm not going to bring this up. Some people even, if eventually, like the choices we talked about the last time, people make choices, okay, I said it, right? People point you to,
that's true.
Because they shut out about it, and it's like they are more like waiting to see, like, you fail in code, right?
Okay, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
Let's see.
Yeah, but I now realize after, I learned about proper argument that attacking the issue, right? Let me make a right statement. It's like one of them is inviting based on your response. If you just say no, or I say, oh, I knew that you won't listen to me. Exactly. It's like that one is inviting us to a boxing WWE
and it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy.
Championship.
It's true. You're just setting each other to fight.
Like, and then the other one is, okay, I feel like this is an important discussion and I feel unheard.
Or let's even talk about the point on the table.
Let's talk. It's inviting you to a conversation and not into a boxing ring.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it's a fallacy called ad hominem, which is where we attack people. Sometimes some people say, I am the accountant. Or like saying, I am the scientist. Or, I mean, we all do that. And we have learned through this. Myself and you is
sometimes I've reiterated to you that, you remember I have CPA, right? You know, I have
say that all the time. I'm like... When you're losing an argument, you're losing an argument.
Bringing all my credentials up.
So what you're doing is what we call the ad hominem. It's a fallacy in argument where people attack people. Yeah. Some people will say that you are a man, so you think, no, let's talk about. And this is one of the things, and this might be uncomfortable, especially for people who are raised in the church or Christians who are listening to us, because we've been made to think that, okay, the man is the head. Not really made. I agree. I accept that as the Bible has taught us. But then again, because of that, we think when men talk, we have to say yes or... And that's the reason why we're seeing an increase, like a great number of divorces. It's not because people lack respect. It's just because a foolish decision is a foolish decision. It's a foolish choice. I'm sorry to use these words, but that's the truth. And you want people... I always say this, that you would do better as a couple when you make good arguments that lead to rational choices. We talked about choices in the last episode where we said you want to have at least choices that get you to most expected outcome. It might not be the most desired because you're not God to tell if things are going to go this way, but it's expected in terms of I can anticipate this wrong going or this will happen. And I can also anticipate this. So when it happens, it's like, okay, we anticipated that and this is how we're going to solve it. But when you don't have rational conversations and you are not able to argue properly, what happens is you continue to make, and I tell you this, you are going to have that. If you don't want to have argument, stay out of marriage. Don't marry. Don't go into a relationship because you're going to have a lot of them because it all comes to a particular choice we have to make or even the way we have to look at something.
Exactly.
And you're having people seeing things from different point of views. It will have, it necessitates that we have very rational argument, like very thoughtful argument. The second fallacy that I've also seen aside the ad hominem, like you talked about, is what we call the strawman. The strawman is simply where it's very interesting where people, they have a way of misrepresenting what you've said. So again, back to our car argument where you said, okay, so it doesn't mean we don't have to have a car. I'm like, no. No. I'm not saying we don't have to have a car. I'm saying we don't need a loan to get a car. And no matter how many times I said it, what I realized was, again, you picked it. And I have also done that to you several times in different, in different cases. But what I realize is what we do is we misrepresent what the person is saying. So for instance, maybe we have to go on a vacation. Okay. Or let me bring food where I'm guilty.
And I know. In fact, this particular food example, I recently broke through the straw man fallacy, right? Because I had always thought or heard you say that don't cook.
And I'm like, why will I say don't cook? How will we eat?
How will we eat, right? Because I remember one time I even told you I was just, a bit angry and I'm like...
You were fed up actually.
I was fed up because I was like, but when I cook, you eat. So why do you keep complaining about cook? But it was just recently, it was like, now, okay, you presented your point. I think you have always been presenting, but I wasn't hearing. I wasn't understanding what
you're not looking for... Two things are important. You want to look for the conclusion, but mostly you want to look... The most important thing is the premises that are leading to this conclusion.
Exactly.
Because if you just hear the conclusion you hear
like, don't cook.
But the conclusion I was making is have a time that you cook. And all you could hear is don't cook. don't cook because sincerely, you are not ready to confront the time problem.
Exactly.
Again, it's almost like we are arguing on this. Meanwhile, what we are really doing is kind of having a good argument where you could say, okay, this is the reason why I'm saying that. And I'm giving you the reason why I'm saying that. You can actually attend to other things important.
Exactly.
It's weekend. Again, like I keep saying, that make weekend fun.
Exactly.
And restful again. You don't need to spend the whole week working and spend the whole weekend in the kitchen.
Saturday,
you don't have to do that.
Sundays cooking.
So I said, no, you need to be resting as much as possible. There's a reason why there was Sabbath, really. Like, you need to rest. I get that. And so the way we are going to do that is early in the morning, we can cook till this time. And you can take it. But it took so many years. Till we actually came to a point.
It's taking like 6 years, I think, right?
Till we came to the point where you're like, I think I see your point. I'm like,
when I came to you, I'm like, you are
come on.
Right. I now see your point. So this is what you've been saying all this while, right?
Until you got that. But what was happening was the strawman fallacy. Because what we do is we misrepresent what people are saying. And I see this in the media a lot of time where someone says something, they say, this is what the person meant. And many people are not able to break. I blame the school system because we have not been educated in our thinking to be able to see these things, to even make proper arguments. And so people are going to marry many times when people have come for counseling from us. Like I asked them that, do you know how to make proper argument? They have no idea. In fact, almost 90% of the people I've asked, never, ever. They've never been taught. They've never been told how to make. And this is going to be essentially the way they live their life, how they make decisions. Unless someone says...
the word alone sounds like fighting, like...
And that's going to happen. And unless someone says that, whatever you do, fine, until they get into trouble. So you want to make that. So a straw man is simply where you misrepresent the fact. Someone is saying, let's say, let's not do A, B, C, D because of this. And you say, oh, so are you saying I shouldn't buy the clothing? I'm not saying you shouldn't buy the clothing. I'm saying probably buy the clothing, spread it over a period of time.
You don't take $20,000 and just shop.
Exactly. Someone is going to make a decision maybe on a job. And someone says, so are you saying I shouldn't take the job? No, I'm not saying you shouldn't take the job. I am saying that consider A, B, C, D, have an alternative before you make this decision. This is so common. And I'm sure those of you who are watching or listening really can relate, where we have all these fallacies in our conversations and it's leading to unnecessary fight because whenever there is a fallacy, it chokes reasoning.
Yeah, that's true.
And so nobody's able to get across to the other person and you begin to fight. Another fallacy that I'll talk about, I mean, there are a lot of fallacies, but another fallacy that I'll talk about is what I call the false dilemma.
Yeah, I love that one. And it comes back to our car example, right?
Exactly.
It's as though it poses a situation whereby it seems as though there are only two options in a scenario. It's either we are getting a loan to buy the car, or
we are not getting a car. No, there could be a third option.
We can
there could be a fourth option. There could be a fifth option.
Exactly.
So many of us fall in this. We fall victim to this fallacy. Like we kind of reason the same way. It's like whenever there's something, the people think, okay, you are saying, even with the cooking thing, it's like, oh, so then it means you mean I shouldn't cook. No, I'm not saying you don't have to cook. It's not either or. It's not always either or. You have different options. And I've seen a lot of people make these decisions. Whenever they're making decisions, it's like, if I don't do this, then I can't do that. I'm like, no. If you don't do this, you can actually do A, B, C, D. You can do 3 or 4 other things.
That's true.
If you really want. And so if we begin to deal with these fallacies, there are more. There is hasty generalization. There are a lot of fallacies. I want to challenge all of you to spend time and learn about them. If you're a couple, learn about them together.
All men are cheats.
Exactly. All men. That's a hasty generalization. Like just because one or two people really disappointed them. And so you kind of have all these things in our thinking, and we are true. It's like, when I go, the people are like, who are the people? Like 2? Those things. It's like, when I go, and then the people will say, and I'm like, who are the people? 2, because you kind of generalize things in your mind, and there are a lot of fallacies. But I want to encourage people to really learn about them.
Yeah,
because if you learn to make better arguments, you will learn to improve your conversations and you will learn to improve your marriage. Now, let's talk about how people can actually do this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I will say is you want to make sure that because an argument is simply the conclusion or the premises that are leading to a particular like the set of premises that are leading, you're not looking at only one premise.
Yeah.
You're looking at the premises. Okay?
Yep.
The premises. And you are making sure that you are assessing those premises, whether they are consistent in the first place with the conclusion. You know, people just say, let's say, if we buy this, or let's say, like if you go to, maybe there's a problem we need to solve, and then someone will say that, oh, I think we need to go to, let's say, go on a vacation. I was like, okay, because Amma went for the vacation, and I think she's so happy now. Akuya went to the vacation. I think she's so unhappy now.
I think vacation will solve all our problems.
Exactly. And then sometimes you're like, oh, but then you point the person and say, oh, but Akosia also went for the vacation, but she's miserable. You know, Akosia is really, you know, then we want to excuse those things. And what we're trying to do is, so we kind of establish a premise or like a set of premises.
Yeah.
But those premises are not consistent with a particular conclusion.
That's true.
This could be the God argument. It could be beliefs. It could be sometimes when you kind of argue with people, you talk about things with people, what you realize is their premise is not consistent with the conclusion.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the premise itself is not factual.
Yeah.
It's not based on evidence. This is a very common problem all of us face. And sometimes you may not even have the fact in the first place, but at least try.
Right.
You know, that's why in the journal we talk about test the truth. Like, at least try to make sure that the premise is. Last time we talked about making choices, and we said one of the things that is important to making right choices is sufficient information.
Having sufficient information.
Exactly. And then factoring in the constraints, like time constraint, like resource constraint, human behavior. And so we talked about sufficient information in the light of what are the evidence that are backing this particular thing? A lot of premises are not factual.
Yeah.
And when people are confronted with that, they hate it. We all do that. Like if right now I want to have argument about God with someone, I mean, many people are going to go, you know what? You take whatever you want. Yeah. Because people want to shun away from going to the place where the premise that is leading to a particular conclusion is based on fact.
Yeah. I think it's very critical to be able to separate your premises from your conclusion. Yeah. I remember most times you ask me, what are the premises that are leading to this conclusion, right? Because for me, I just say, this is what I think. And you don't even just say it. Like you talk like you go like in circles. I'm like, okay. Where now are the premises? You've lost me, like, you know. And I think one critical thing I want to highlight is that knowing also that in your home, we are married. We are not in a law court. We are not trying to win an argument. Yeah, but we are just influencing each other's, perspective about something, presenting facts, presenting something that, ultimately, like we said, will lead us to make certain choices that will affect both of us. Because at the end of the day, if it's about who wins, then that is it. Yeah, and
I think I was guilty at that time. I think the way I presented the case, it's like you always
bringing
like
your debate.
You are trying to win. It's like the debate demons in me are coming out, and I think you didn't like it because whenever it seems like you are trying to win an argument, then the other person is gonna feel less smart, and so you want to make sure that I think I'm improving.
Oh, you have. Yeah, you have.
But I think that's a brilliant point you make right
ultimately, it's for the better of the union with the children, for everything that pertains to us. Is not necessarily who is right, whose points, presenting all those facts, verifying those facts, making sure that we are clearly communicate something that will lead both of us to a great end, and not necessarily
it's good for us to go straight to the point.
Exactly.
Like what you were saying. Many people just kind of say, okay, so, and then they're going to start a story from, and it's like you're lost. It's lost. Where are you going? And sometimes I think what again, I'm guilty here, is because I don't allow you to end. I'm just asking, okay, so I want to get a conclusion to this.
It's like,
and I say, okay, now take me back. What are the premises that are leading to this conclusion? And sometimes you're like, You are kind of lost in what I'm saying.
Sometimes I'm even lost in myself because I've got.
I think women are very interesting people. Like you kind of go like,
yeah.
You know. I mean, like I think you made a very brilliant point there. That this is not law court. You're not trying to win a case. You're just trying to talk and you're trying to argue.
Yeah.
And I say this, that I think that many people are going to find this conversation. I'm hoping that they find this conversation helpful. But if you get this right, you're going to change your marriage, your relationships in a completely different way. Because the biggest thing you're going to see is just how people argue.
Yeah.
And when people fight more, they get drained. When they get drained, they're no more interested in a relationship.
Exactly.
It's going to be one of the major factors of like maybe breakups and even divorces, because we are always arguing. We are not able to present our case in a proper way. We are not able to talk to each other in a civilized way.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a lawyer to do this. You don't have to be a debater to do this. Anybody can learn it. You can go on YouTube, learn about how to make better argument. It doesn't mean you're going to argue and be argumentative. Sometimes you don't always have to oppose something. You don't always have to. Sometimes you can also, like I'll just walk you through your thoughts gradually to establish your thought. I don't need to all say, okay, I get your point now. This is my point. Like that, I don't need to. I can actually lead you on to the point where I create a coherence between your premises and your conclusion.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you get a point, you have a point, except that the premises are not based on fact. And so I have to ask why. Okay, I say, will you want to search on this more?
Exactly.
Will you want to find out more on this? Because I'm not trying to even present my alternative view. I just want to help you,
important.
and I want to aid you, because that also helps with people's self-esteem. Like if people are going to feel like they're always going to lose, it's like you're just going to turn your home into the law court, and it's not really going to help. Anyway, thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for joining us on this particular episode. I hope that you learned something. Let me know in the comment section. Again, if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. We are still offering some of our templates for free, Notion templates. Go check them out. The links are in the descriptions below. Go check them out. And again, our effective living system, our effective living family system, our finance system, all of them are available. Non-profit system, they're just available on our website, mygrowthclub.org. You want to check them out. We had a wonderful conversation this weekend, our first club meeting on Zoom, and it was amazing. I'm hoping that those who joined really enjoyed it. You want to join us? Visit our website, mygrowthclub.org. Click the link, join the club, and sign up. And you're going to have like-minded people converse and discuss some of these topics that are going to be very helpful to your growth and your development. Again, from the bottom of our heart, we want to say thank you. We really appreciate you. If you help share this with some people, tell your friends, like, hey guys, subscribe to this channel. It's really going to help you. And I think we're not going to disappoint them. So thank you again, and do have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.